Hello and welcome to progression log 0, I guess, of Ocean Block 2. I don't really have too much progression on the server right now, so I thought I'd do what I did last time for AMC, which was to go over the base design, to do a progression log 0 of the base. There's been a lot of changes and a lot of designs. So far, I have 6, but I completely removed 2. But we'll go ahead and get started. So one of the things I originally wanted to do was to build an oil platform or an oil rig, as I felt like that would have been, a lot. It would have been something that would have pushed my building skills forward, which was something that I really kind of wanted to do. And I felt like it also would have been very thematic for an ocean, skyblock effectively. Um, but so I tried to give it a go. I wanted to, you know, give an oil rig a shot, something so industrial and complex as it would have been as well as vertical. It would have been a very different from what I normally build. Normally, I build very wide, sprawling bases, and an oil rig would have been, a lot narrower, far more vertical, more enclosed space. So it would have been very different from what I normally build. But I don't think it's going to work out that way in the end. First off, we have over here, which was never really got out of the beginning of like the planning stages of what it was going to look like. I was going to have some pretty large supports here that would have been floating in the water. Unfortunately, after I set all this up, I immediately went, wow, this sucks. I didn't really like the way this was. Obviously, there was a mistake in how I laid out some of the supports as well, but that really wasn't the problem. I just didn't really like the way this was turning out to be. So over here, we now have, this is the second iteration of an oil rig, something a little bit smaller. Uh, I never really got to the support section either. I wanted to build something that would have had probably only a couple of supports. It would have been definitely just smaller in general when compared to the first design. I also wanted to make sure that there would be areas underneath for wiring and piping. Unfortunately, this pack, looking forward, seems to be pretty stingy with creative flight. You're not really going to get it easily. Or just flight in general is pretty late, I believe. You have Chapter 2, which is sort of where we're at on the server right now, which isn't like that far. You don't get it there either. I don't remember where you get it. I think maybe you can get it in Mystical Agriculture Armor, but we're pretty far from that as well. Uh, I mean, Ars Nouveau can get you flight. I do know there's a jetpack from Oratech. Just don't know where. Might be in Tips and Tricks where there's flight or something. Tool built. No. Anyway, I know flight was pretty stingy from what I checked, so I knew that we were gonna have to have uh plenty of the ability to easily get access just underneath machines in order for us to do some wiring underneath. So I was, using a lot of these treated scaffolding here from Immersive Engineering because I like the way they look. I felt like this design was pretty good. Uh, Underneath wasn't too bad. It was a little bit industrial, but that's the whole thing with oil rigs. I felt like it was well within the aesthetic. I just didn't really like the way this was turning out. I really wasn't sure what was wrong with it. I think I felt that it would have been really hard to build vertically, as you often see in oil rig design are in quote unquote actual oil rigs. I did actually eventually start looking up some how to build oil rigs in Minecraft. I believe it was starting with this one, which is where the color scheme comes from. Gray and red. Red's a pretty common color you'd see on ships and stuff. Oil rigs, anything that goes has something metal below the waterline. You see like red paint and stuff. I believe it's like anti-corrosive paint because saltwater is pretty corrosive to stuff. Saltwater is not kind to many things. It's actually an interesting design consideration when it comes to naval aircraft, by the way. Uh, Little known fact. Um, so this was a design that was all right, I guess, but I just didn't really like the way it was turning out. It was pretty small, and it would have been very hard to build vertically, and I wasn't just really happy with it in general. So I decided to try again. With this was the third variation, which again was still we have a different color of mangrove block. The color palette has so far stayed pretty similar. We have gray sheet metal with mangrove and some dark brown stuff, as well as lots of treated wood machine pads. I started trying to enclose some of the machine pads as well underneath, as one thing I felt like I was missing was interior design. Oil rigs are very enclosed. Things are under roofs, inside walls, things like that. So this was another design where I attempted to do that, and then I had a second floor again because they're very vertical. I was going trying to decide on how I wanted to build, a taller tower. Again, this kind of goes back to what I've mentioned before, is the verticality part of an oil rig. And I couldn't figure it out. It felt really weird. I just didn't really figure out what was wrong with it until I tried over here with the fourth design, which is pretty much the exact same thing. I just copy pasted the whole thing, except I truncated the outer uh, walkway, and I felt like that helped a lot. I figured out the outer walkway was a little bit too large, so it felt like it was a little bit too much of the base, where it felt like it was part of the base rather than as an exterior walkway, which was not part of the goal. And I think this was a little bit better, but again, I couldn't really figure out a way to make the base taller in a way that I liked. I really struggled with both interiors as well as verticality again. And eventually I tried again with this is the fifth design. And this again was just larger in general. I think that helped a lot. I was really liking this design for a little bit. I also figured out what helped fix some problems with what I had with the machine shacks before, is there wasn't enough depth to them, and they just kind of felt really weirdly and oddly placed. Rather than like a superstructure of an oil rig. It felt like it was just a bunch of buildings. It would have been a bunch of buildings stacked on top of each other. So in this case, we have a two-layer wall. The outer layer is built support style using gray cyan terracotta with bricks. I like the way this looked, and terracotta clay isn't too hard to get. Most of these building blocks are pretty easy to get. Light gray sheet metal isn't so bad. Sheet metal is pretty cheap. It's about an ingot per block in the end, depending on what you use. And we would use iron, obviously, or either iron or copper, because you'd get lots and lots of that on the server that we have now. We have several thousand iron ingots, and we're not even that far into the pack. It's really easy to get lots and lots of those ingots. So it wouldn't have been too expensive to use sheet metal, which was pretty nice. Treated wood also wouldn't be too bad. We'd only be farming one kind of wood, mangrove, this time, because eventually I did pull out the dark oak instead. But again, I just really wasn't liking this. I couldn't tell what it was. I think for when it came to this place, I liked the way it looked, but I could tell I would not enjoy building it, which was a pretty big problem. One of the issues I was having with verticality is that it's really hard to build vertical structures without flight. It would have been exceptionally annoying, and especially with how late you get flight into the pack. I believe there's jetpacks. Yes. But something like creative flight units would be exceptionally annoying. Mechanism probably wouldn't be too bad for flight, but again, it's just not creative flight, unfortunately. Um, yes, we have other jetpacks here as well from Oritech, which will be fun to play with. Um, Once you get steel, you can build these things, and you have to power them. So maybe jetpacks are all right for what I'd need. But what you'd really want would be the creative flight, the gravitational unit. See, like flight. The only thing you could do it obviously with Ars Nouveau, but I've never touched Ars Nouveau, so I wouldn't know how easy that would be. Um, you'd have the gravity. Let's see. Yes, gravity modulation unit, I believe, allows creative flight. So that would be the other option, and this is super late game mechanism. This is like, uh, yeah, antimatter, which is very end gaming for mechanism. It's the past nuclear power. You need to set up nuclear power, and then you have to set up the SPS, which is millions of RF. Just giant energy sinks. So that wouldn't be happening for quite some time. I guess there's also these potions of flying. Uh, which would not be easy. Uh, not be easy in the slightest, unfortunately. So yeah, I that was kind of what I figured out towards the end, was that trying to build a vertical base without creative flight was probably not going to work out very well. And something like AMC, you can get creative flight pretty early, and we actually had creative flight before I even started building the main base. And I know that's having creative flight really trivializes a lot of things in modded Minecraft. And most packs are actually pretty stingy about handing out creative flight these days. But I was not really gonna be happy about building this base, especially since this was taking fucking forever to build. Most of it, I think, was just time spent in the design phase, but I just wasn't really happy with this. I felt like I probably could have made it work, but I just did not really see myself enjoying the space very much. So eventually, I just kind of swapped back, and this is what the final design is. And it's not finished yet by any means, but I felt like I liked this enough that I was like, yeah, okay, this is what we're gonna build. And I've probably more or less abandoned the oil rig platform style entirely. I don't think I'm gonna build that, which is kind of a shame because I was really looking forward to trying something new in a more industrial application. That doesn't mean we won't be able to have any kind of those industrial vibes with this base. It's just it won't look like an oil rig. Um, so we're gonna have a vertical tower over here. This will be the center where we'll have our controller. The controller is totally unneeded because they will be turning off channels. Again, I just don't like them from AE2. I feel like they're really annoying, and the solution to them is just nothing but tediousness. It's just doing spamming MEP2Ps. So it's a solution that it's I just don't really find it a whole lot of fun. So I just turn them off. So the tower will be where we'll be able to fit our molecular assemblers in here. This is where oftentimes I don't plan where I'm gonna put my molecular assemblers, and then I have to figure out a way to cram them in somewhere. When I was building this area, I realized we had lots of room in here, so I decided to just stick them in here. And with all four of these, I'm sure we'll have plenty of space for any number of patterns we would need. I doubt there's even that many patterns, especially if we're using the extended pattern providers, which have lots of patterns. What's that, 4 by 9, so 36 each? I'm pretty sure that we would have more spots than there would be for like crafting recipes in the pack, maybe. It would be quite a lot. So not really concerned about what having to expand the molecular assemblers at all. We didn't even use that many in Mani Factory, and Mani Factory had a lot of crafting recipes. Same with all the mods 9 too, actually, which was an even larger pack. So I won't be concerned about that. And this tower, I think, this is where I might actually bring verticality into the base, where I'll have other, like, branches and stuff. And this branch will be at this height or whatever. So I think this base will probably be actually fairly compact, where I'll try and stack things have things at multiple heights. I don't think I'm going to build like a machine pad on top of this machine pad, for example. I think this one will come out over here and I'll have a machine pad at like this height, but, horizontally, laterally in line with this machine pad over here. It might make the base a little bit wonky to walk around, but we have access to the Staff of Traveling now because Under IO does actually exist, so it's okay. We don't have to have we can have a little bit more of a complex base in terms of path design, like we did with Monty Factory, for example. That was a very complex base to walk around when compared to something like AMC or all the mods 9. Though with all the mods 9, we also have Staff of Traveling, so. It'll be nice to have all that stuff back, so we can get a little bit funky with base design, which will be nice. So that's currently the plan right now. Still do kind of want to finish this tower design off at some point. The world is very, very deep, and I don't plan at building this all the way down. That would be tens of thousands of blocks. It's like 150 blocks worth of water, I think, all the way to the bottom or something like that. We're like 190 or something, and I think the seabed is like at 90 or something like that, or I don't know how deep it is. I know that it's very, very deep. Um, so I obviously won't go that far down, and oil rigs float. So, but they also aren't, well, they're made of steel, and they do have concrete in their supports to help weigh them down. Anyway, so it'll be like a floating base, like oil rigs in that case. Over here, we still do have the I don't want to call it the undercarriage, but I guess the scaffolding underneath, and it's pretty compact under here. But we have access to shrinking gadgets again, so here we go. We have access to shrinking gadgets again, so this will be more than enough space to do what we need to do. Um, eh, there we go. So as long as we know we don't fall off or anything, we'll be pretty fine. And apparently I keep accidentally phasing through the scaffolding. If I shift and walk or something, oh yeah, that's really funny. Anyway, may have to replace those blocks then. I didn't realize that. um, so we'll have like access to the scaffolding underneath and stuff, so we can get access to our wires and pipes. We're using connect textures in these factory blocks that look like small pipes, because in this version of Applied Energistics, let's see, facade factory. Let's see, do we have the factory facade for small pipes? Where are you? Here we go. This is it? Nope, wrong one. The texture the connected textures do work. Where? Here you are. Uh, there we go. So they actually connect up, so we can actually use these nice looking blocks for our AA cables. So it kind of makes sense to have, pipe blocks for the AA cables. We're using luminous glass as well as framed shroom lights here in the I might replace this with glowstone actually, since glowstone's a lot easier than shroom lights at this point. I do like the way the shroom lights look. I like that more reddish orangish texture, but there's still plenty of other glowstone variants that look good, as well as one that just is the same texture but yellow or whatever. So I'm sure this would work if I have to replace it. I would like the more red version. Uh, and that would be pretty easy to farm once we actually get the ability to farm shroom lights from the nether. Um, but we'll have to see how that goes. Mangrove won't be too bad either. We'll have to make a sampling, which will require a little bit of work. It's not so easy, unfortunately. It's just most of the other saplings you can just sift from the water. Well, sluice from the water. Um, However, mangrove saplings have to be made from some tier 2 seeds, which require a little bit extra effort. You need power before you can get them, and power is not as easy in Ocean Block 2 as is many other tech packs. There's no initial like simple coal generator that's basically just a furnace. You actually have to do some pretty significant work with steam engines. You have to boil water, like all power systems do in real life. Well, I guess yeah, well, um, so we're still a little bit far away from being able to build the base on the server, unfortunately, but not too far. Especially, bricks won't be too bad. We'll have clay. Clay isn't that bad at all. There's a bunch of different ways to get clay. You can use a dripper with fill it with water and put dirt underneath, and that will turn it into clay. I believe that can be automated. You can also just make clay in tempered glass jars, which is something that's easily automated, and this won't be too bad at all. Uh, you know, we also have access once we'll get like water seeds and dirt essence. I know we have water seeds. I believe we have dirt seeds as well. So we can craft clay that way as well. So when it comes to terracotta as well as the bricks, that won't be too bad. One thing you notice is I kind of pulled out most of the sheet metal in terms of blocks. But we still have it over here for the machine shacks as well as some accents on the tower. This is aluminum sheet metal because I want this area to be a little bit more clean room like. That being said, though, we actually do have wood in here, which is very much not clean room safe. um, you're not gonna want to use those kinds of things. They're gonna put off lots of particulates. Um, I'm really liking the way this base is going. So this base design is going. I feel a lot better about it. I know that it kind of strayed away from my original plan of multiple oil rigs that would have been chained together into like a connected network base almost. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, you do have to build a base that you enjoy. Like you're just gonna want to be there, and part of that is also building a base that you can you'll enjoy building. Because if you hate building your base, you're just going to start lawn basing it at a certain point, and then the whole thing will turn disgusting, and then you'll be really sad and you'll stop playing. So I wanted to make sure the base I was building was something I liked being, as well as something that I could build realistically. And I just did not feel like an oil rig was currently realistic for what I was capable of doing. It's possible once we actually, get creative flight or something, I'll try building a few oil rigs just around the base for fun. I'm sure that I can come up with some reason as to why to do it. At the very least, even just because I felt like, building a oil rig, just as practice, and maybe I'll put some stuff in there or whatever. But that's a project for much, much later at the end of the day. So it's kind of unfortunate the plans changed, but plans do change. That's just how Minecraft base design works. Your initial idea very rarely ever really works. Like my AMC base, the last one went through multiple revisions in terms of color palette. Like I had the general first idea, but the color palette changed multiple times before I finally set on the one that I did. Um, so I'm pretty happy with this color palette though. I've always wanted to build with treated wood, and I've never really had a palette to do it. As actually the last AMC base was the first time I've ever built with wood in the base, and I actually really liked it. So I've started to feel okay about using wood more often, which is nice because there's lots of really good wood colors and textures. It's a very rich, warm brown, and which I really like. It's not really something you see in a lot of other woods. Mangrove is cool because I just like that nice red color and it has this cool connected texture that I like. Um, I really like these reds and browns, so these warmer colors are a lot nicer on the eyes, I think, especially since I'm sure we're going to be spending a few hundred hours here at least. I don't know how long this pack is going to be. I mean, you have like your main quest line here, which is this one. We kind of finished most of this quest line over here, but that really wasn't too bad. Next, we're getting into this quest and stuff too. We haven't even reached the bottom of the ocean yet. Um, so we still have lots of stuff to do, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll also start slowing down as things get more expensive and require more infrastructure than what you can just do by hand. Especially since at some point we're gonna have to tear everything apart and then rebuild the base entirely, and I'm sure that's gonna be a pain in the ass. That won't be easy, but it will be something we can do. And jetpacks may be required to do it. And maybe once I pick up a jetpack and it feels good enough, uh, as Creative Flight. Maybe I'll come back and do some more base design to possibly revisit something that is more vertical than what this design is here. Because I haven't really like the one thing I have settled on is the color palette. We're gonna have treated wood, we're gonna have mangrove planks, and we're gonna have this luminous glass. By the way, this luminous glass is a light source too, which is nice. So I don't actually need the shroom lights there anyway, but I do keep them just for spacing purposes, just so we can constantly make sure we're keeping everything sort of on a grid. Um, I also hope that because I tried to lay out the tower with based on this grid, that the tower doesn't set the grid off like it sometimes it does in like AMC. I had some things that were um, set off, like when I tried to connect two different. Anyway, there was some weirdness. I'm hoping this prevents the weirdness from happening, but we'll have to see. It won't be some. I mean, I could, do a whole bunch of test builds. I could spend, hours and hours and hours doing test builds. I've already spent way too many hours in here. Let's see if we have time played. Um, Time played. Yeah, I spent about 10.5 hours doing some base design beforehand. And at a certain point, I just didn't really want to do base design anymore, and I just wanted to start playing. So once I, got, part way to most of the way through the tower or so, and I realized, I had a tower that I liked, I had a general design that I liked. Um, Normally, I'm okay with like this scaffolding being exposed as well up here. Normally, I would have tried to hide that, but I feel like that really fits the more industrial aesthetic that we're going for, as well as we're gonna have these nice little roofs, so they're gonna to help keep the rain off, right? Um, so that'll hide a little bit of the scaffolding as well, but that's one reason why we're using treated wood here as well. It's just because it looks nice. Um, so yeah, I like the treated wood. It's gonna be fun color. It's gonna be a fun block to work with. It's gonna be a little bit annoying to make, unfortunately. You do need, a bucket of creosote oil, which let's see, you have fluid separation from centrifuge. Also, you can craft it. Fluid crafting isn't so bad these days. Before, it used to be really annoying in older versions. And it's not too hard to get a hold of. It does take a while though. We're gonna need an absolute buttload of these coke ovens. Fortunately, coal is pretty easy to get as well as trees. We're already going to be farming trees for the base, so we can always throw extra logs into it for creosote. But it's better to use, obviously, it's way better to use creosote or coal to make the creosote oil. You get way, way more. So, and then coal coke is useful enough. It's not as useful as charcoal, unfortunately. Charcoal is a lot more useful, which is one reason why you'd want to use that. But we do want the creosote oil, so we'll have to see what in the end I choose to do it. We have tons of coal from sluices, which are just the water version of sifters, like and all the like to the sky packs from all the mods. So it's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what we've got here so far. I think this base is going to be a lot of fun to be in. And speaking of, Ocean Block 2, there's going to be more people playing. A couple of friends, my brother. We're all going to be playing. They're all on their 2-week Minecraft binge, you know. They're either going to be addicted to Minecraft for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll see if they keep playing after that. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, so I hope you guys, like this base. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. I've been really enjoying it so far. So even if you guys hate it, well, too bad. That's my base. I'm the one who's gonna have to spend 300 hours here, not you. You're gonna like what the series is like maybe like 1 in 10. You see 1 in 10 hours at most. Like you guys, I don't know how long AMC was, like the series versus. I mean, it was like what 330 odd hours for the pack, or 380 hours actually, and they were like 14 videos, and they were generally in the 30 to 40 minute range, so way less than 1 in 10. Way less. Like 1 in 200? No. No. It would have been. I don't know. I can't do that math in my head. It would have been a lot less. You guys probably see like 5% of the playtime. So, but I'm curious what you guys think. I thought there was going to be a lot more building options in FTB Ocean Block, in the pack than there actually were. Um, I kept getting whenever I see FTB, like you have all the mods, and then you have Feed the Beast, which are like the two quote unquote pack corporations for Minecraft. I don't know if they're incorporated. I'm pretty sure FTB is a company. But I don't know about all the mods. Uh, and all the mods really loves their decorative packs. They really love their decorative mods. Like there's so many options in all the mods. In FTB, they're a lot more pared down to what you really need. There's still options, obviously. We have chisel and stuff. We have bibliocraft as well, which I don't really know why it's here. I don't know if there's a use other than it makes some really nice things, and Bibliocraft is a really comfy mod that does some really cool things. Like I really enjoyed like the sword pedestal, like the sword pedestals are really cool. The bookshelves are really cool. That's a lot of really cool features. So I guess that's enough for me. Let's see, what else do we have for in terms of decorative? I mean, obviously we have chisel. We have connected glass. Uh, Floppa. Oh, it's a fluid hopper. Um, that's Ender drives. Oh, integrated dynamics is fun. You can use integrated dynamics to set up a little bit of a budget aid system. At least you have to have the storage terminal. Um, and you have like logic cables, and then you add item interfaces. And you just plonk them on chests and stuff. Anyway, eventually I'll do a video on the server, probably next week. There's not really a whole lot going on right now. And then I'll show how we made the budget AE system. We also have framed blocks is pretty much a standard. I mean Ars Nouveau adds some fairly pretty blocks. It's a pretty mod. What else do we have? Lights and stuff. There's plenty of options. There's like 13 pages worth of mods and stuff here. Obviously, immersive engineering is cool. I really like immersive engineering. Immersive engineering has been a really classic tech mod for the longest time, though I've never really had too much of a chance to use it. It's always generally outclassed by a lot of other tech mods, like Mechanism, for instance. Mechanism just kind of outclasses everything, unfortunately. It kind of steamrolls through most other tech mods just in terms of productive capability and power production. But it doesn't offer a cool revolver or a railgun like immersive engineering does, or a flamethrower. Like, that's some cool shit. So, immersive engineering does some really cool stuff. It's good to have Ender IO back as well. And we got Chipped, which has lots of blocks, lots of options. So I'm sure I can find something if I need to add some more spice to this. But I feel like this is pretty good. I'm really liking this color palette. I feel like it's really worked out well, and I feel like I have enough options that I'm sure it'll be fine. So I've rambled on for long enough, I'm sure at this point. So I'm pretty excited to get into Ocean Block 2. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't really been going into November, actually, one thing is I might play a little bit less because Astroneer has a Mega Tech DLC coming out, which is like you build mega structures and stuff, and there's like a lot of automation. Because Astroneer's game design with automation is just enough to make you feel like you can automate everything without actually giving you the tools to actually automate everything. And I think Megatech will change that. So that should be fun. So I might get sucked into that for a little bit. We'll have to see. On Battlefield 6 drops in a month, so I'm definitely going to get sucked into that as well. Battlefield 6 was great. Can't wait to play it. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for today. I know this video was pretty late. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make a video or not, and then I realized that you know what, probably I do actually probably have enough stuff to make a video on, and clearly I do because we just hit this 30-minute mark. uh, so yeah, I'm pretty excited to play. It's gonna be fun playing with some friends again. Last pack I pretty much played on my own. Which is fine, but it's always fun to play with friends and stuff. So it's gonna be a little bit of another different experience. They're gonna be doing some stuff and helping out, and it's gonna be fun. It's because this pack is a mixture of adventure and tech. It's not just pure tech like AMC was. AMC had technically a quote-unquote adventuring thing, but it was like an hour long, and it really wasn't all that entertaining. The autumn the Atom was a very weird addition. Um, anyway, so that's for the fourth time. That's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. So I hope you guys have had, a good couple of weeks. I know it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I last posted a video. And I hope you guys have a good upcoming week. And I will see you all again next week.